If you've ever struggled with your sleep, then you're absolutely in the right place because I'm joined by the amazing Dave Algeo. That's how you pronounce it, isn't it, Dave?
Is, yes.
Who does all sorts of amazing things. But I believe you're going to be talking about habits for sleep today.
Yeah, I am. And just to give the context, I work with midlifers in terms of their health improvement, getting weight and health back on their terms. The reason I focus on sleep is because it's often when I'm working with clients, it is the first thing that we work on because people are exhausted, tired. I talk about, I've got my shite guide to overcoming, overthinking, overeating, that kind of thing. Pardon the language, but the shite stands for stress, managing hunger, as in binge eating, isolation, tiredness, and emotional coping. And the T is the thing because I often find I work with people on the T, the tiredness. So today, what I thought was I'd just share my approach to the tiredness and the sleep issue. One side is to relearn how to relax, but we're going to park that for the time being because I think sleep is where there's some real opportunity here. How do we improve our sleep? And right off, the first thing I need to say straight away is there's been a big marked increase, and it's well known among sleep experts and clinicians in sleep anxiousness, sleep anxiety. We've got devices that tell us how bad or poorly we sleep or how much deep sleep we don't get, that kind of thing. So the first thing to do is I would love to you, as a reframe, is to start giving yourself permission to stop stressing about sleep. Stop losing sleep over sleep, right? And the reason I say that is because it's a very key foundational stone to it is how do we relax? And if you're worried about how quality sleep, how much sleep you're getting, that can be an issue. Easier said than done. But what I want to talk about is give you three Z's to better sleep. And I'll come on to those in a minute, the three Z's, and a strategy on how to work at it so you don't get overwhelmed. The foundation is I want you to focus on giving yourself the opportunity for sleep and take the pressure off to be asleep. Now, there's a real important distinction there because how often are we pressuring ourselves, whether we're going to bed and struggling to get off to sleep, or we wake up at that 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and we're, God, I've got to go back to sleep. Oh, my, oh, and we get stressed, and then we wake up, we fall asleep half an hour before we wake up, all of that stuff. I would like you to take the pressure off to be asleep, but protect the window, the opportunity for sleep. And in that window, you do things that are conducive to relaxation and rest, but you're not pressuring yourself or worrying about sleep. It takes practice, but I think that's the key foundation to it. So, with that in mind, the three Z's. Now, I talk about the three Z's. You'll see why I talk about three Z's, catching some Z's, that kind of thing. But the three Z's are sleep zen, your sleep zone, and your pre-Z time routine. You can see what I did there just to squeeze that third Z in, but very, very important. The first one, the sleep zen, I could go into a lot more detail, and there will be a link in the comments in relation to a sleep course where I expand a bit on this, a free sleep course for everybody. It's an audio one, if you can stand to listen to me after this, this babble that I'm spouting now. So the sleep zen is important, but the foundational bit is that we need to understand that our sleep cycle runs in about 90 minutes. Every 90 minutes, we go through a period of easing into sleep, getting into deep sleep, moving into rapid eye movement sleep, which we classically think is dream sleep, dream state, but actually we kind of dream throughout. But then after the dream state, we come back out towards the end of the 90 minutes into a lighter stage of sleep before we go back in. The important thing to realize is that that is why we often get disrupted sleep sometimes during the night. We hear a noise or we've got stuff on our mind. As we're coming back out of the deep and the REM sleep, the rapid eye movement sleep, we're prone to disturbance, and that could be from within or without. So one of the things we need to do is just give ourselves, as you'll see with some of the other tips, an environment that helps and some tools in the kit to help us relax at those times. So understanding that can give yourself permission to think, well, this, no wonder I'm waking up in the middle of the night. Have I got stuff on my mind? No wonder. So that's one key thing. Other things around sleep zen are just understanding we're cued in by light, and by noise and familiarity of our environment. It's got to feel safe and comfortable. So those are the principles, if you like, of sleep zen. Now, I do go into those a lot more, but obviously I'm conscious we're in a short period here. But if we understand that this is a natural cycle, or there is a natural flow to it, we can then use that to help our sleep zone and our pre-Z time routine in particular. So if I move on to the other two, because I think these are where we can actually take action, do some takeaways if you like. The sleep zone. This is your environment in which you sleep. Now, I work with a lot of different people, whether they're traveling a lot, etc. The principles remain the same. If you can have a sleep zone that signals this is where I rest, this is where I sleep, then that can be really important. And this is also important if you're sleeping in hotels. How do I cue in some familiarity in a hotel room that's strange? And there are things like, I'll come on to the pre-Z time routine, but it might be a familiar smell or something, a pre-bedtime routine that's very similar, etc. But in your bedtime, in your bedroom, it's about perhaps reducing the light and blocking out the light, not blocking it out completely. If you think about us as when we've evolved to live in caves hundreds of thousands of years ago, 10,000 years ago, whatever it was, we had starlight, we had moonlight, that kind of thing. It wasn't pitch black necessarily, but what we did need was to feel like it was darker because during day we're visible to predators, so we need to be active and on the move and alert. During the night we need to be static and safe somewhere protected. So we need to kind of mirror that, which is a darker room, somewhere familiar, not cluttered, somewhere where if you're in your room, you can see predators coming after you. I don't want to put that in anybody's head, but the point of it is your bedroom needs to mirror that feeling of safety. So as well as darker, lower light, warmer lights, if you're talking about easing into bed, those red lights rather than the bright white lights, you need something that's clear. So one tip is obviously, if you can, black out the light, but doesn't have to be pitch black. Reduce your noise input. And again, this is difficult with pets or children. So sometimes we just have to kind of accept it's going to be better, not perfect. We're not trying to get perfect. So, but reduce noise and sometimes ear masks or white noise, head masks. I've got a head mask with flat headphones that kind of, I listen to some music or some relaxing soundscape, that kind of thing. They can take away sharp noises or noises in the street, that kind of stuff. And also declutter your room. Now, it doesn't mean you have to organize and tidy. It just means get it out of sight. So if you have a big pile of ironing, get it out of the room, out of sight. You don't have to do the ironing. But keep your room quite nice and conducive to that feeling of peace and calm and familiarity. There's lots of other things you can do, but have a think about that. The key thing, and I'm leaving it kind of last, is your pre-Z time routine or the stuff you do before bed. And this is actually quite critical because it mirrors that. It helps us, with that cycle of easing into sleep. There's a period where we slowly submerge in sleep. Now, if we hit bed at 100 miles an hour, haven't closed the laptop, switched off the telly, we're still stimulated, we're kind of jarring with that need for easing in. So what I suggest is give yourself, formulate 10 to 15 to 30 minutes, and 10 minutes is fine, of something you can replicate every night, even if you are away in a hotel somewhere. And that needs to be restful, routine, and just something that is relaxing for you. So it conducive to that. So it might be reading a book, it might be listening to a podcast that doesn't stimulate you and make you, politically active or whatever at the time of night. So you need things that do it for you, something that just is restful for you and eases you into sleep. And the point of that is if you can make it something that does work for you, even if it's crappy TV. I know people are on about whether you should use a device or watch TV before bed. Actually, it's how it affects you. So if it ain't broken, don't fix it. If it works for you, watch crappy TV. The thing you've got to watch about devices and TV is that you stick disciplined wise to a cut-off time. Because if you don't, and you let it drift, that's what wrecks your sleep. It's not so much the pollution of the light, although you may be somebody who responds to that, so know yourself. But if you like to watch a little bit of easy TV before bed and it works for you, do it. Just have a cut-off point. But have a routine and a ritual, because it's the routine and ritual that cues in rest and relaxation as you move into sleep.
Can I ask
So
you a question, Dave?
yeah, go on, go for it.
When you talked about the cut-off point, is there an ideal space of time between cutting off from doing those things and then the routine or actually putting your head on the pillow?
Well, you can actually be in bed if your routine is perhaps and this again, if it works for you, it's testing it. So it might be you kind of have a bath or a shower or something, and you brush your teeth, and then you get into bed, and then your pre-Z time routine starts. Or, you might do it somewhere else, and sort of treat your bed as just the place where, right, the pillow hits the head hits the pillow, and I'm off to sleep. It's about knowing what works for you. I think for many of us and many people I work for, they like that period of 10 to 15 minutes, even 30 minutes of just lying in bed, slowing things down. So does that answer the question? Because it's not necessarily a specific time. It's about giving yourself a period where you can relax. And in bed is fine.
Yeah, and I love that actually it's not prescriptive. It really is about the individual. And,
Yeah.
just listening to what you're saying, I mean, I love this reframe. It makes so much sense what you're saying. But I just noticed how much more relaxed I feel just listening to your voice and you talking about these things that are all doable. I love that.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. There's a lot we can do and we can get overwhelmed. So this brings me on to how do you make changes? Because that's the key bit. There's lots of ideas. We could look at sleep zen and a lot more detail. We could look at your sleep zone and you could look at your pre-Z time routine. There's lots you can do. But that very fact that there's lots you can do can lead to overwhelm and think, oh my God, it's not perfect. I've got to have it all sorted. So what I want to do is kind of just reassure people. We both work in habit change. And I think what we know is the power of the small, the sprout-sized habit, as I call it, because I use cabbages and sprouts as a metaphor. The small habit repeated daily or consistently will make lasting change. And in relation to these sleep changes, what I would encourage you to do is not try to do it all. If you're thinking, yeah, my sleep needs a bit of change, I'll check in on this course, whatever, where do I start? Well, my suggestion would be, see if you can think of three things. Just three small things you can change. One of those is allowed to be a one-off change. So it might be I'm going to clear the iron out the room, but a one-off change. It might be buy a new mattress if you want. I mean, if you've got that budget, go for it, but it doesn't have to be. Does not have to be. One-off action. The other two, some habits, a couple of habits. And you have two options really in terms of your strategy. One is you can pick a Z from the sleep zone or the pre-Z time routine, or you can pick two Zs from one of those, your sleep zone or your pre-Z time routine. So you pick any, focus on those. And if you execute at least one of those regularly for at least a week to 2 weeks, then you'll gradually start to make better rather than perfect. And then add another sprout-sized habit in. And look at this as a long-term game of how do I improve my sleep, as I would call it, sprout by sprout, step by step over time. Because what you're not looking for is perfect sleep every night. What you're looking for is a little bit better, more nights than you are now. And if you can get a little bit better sleep for more nights than you are now, and then improve on that in a month's time, you will start to feel so much better. And this is where it ties into things like achieving a goal like a health or a weight loss goal. Because one of the classic things is if we're tired, drained, exhausted, stressed out, whatever, we just don't have as much in the tank to make the wiser decisions for ourselves, do we? I mean, I know what I'm like. If I'm getting up and I'm feeling knackered, I've had a bit knackered is a technical term. From up here. I know what I'm like. On a morning, I'll grab a cuppa because I'm already sleeping a bit late. I'll run and I'll run without necessarily having something to fill my stomach. I'll be ravenous by tea time. I'll eat all the wrong things or I'll ring for a takeaway, have a couple of beers. By bedtime, I'm just wired but tired, tired but wired, where you're physically kind of wrecked, but your head is like spinning. And it starts again. So if you just stop, take one thing, work on one area, sleep, work on one, two, or three sprout-sized things over the next few weeks, and play the long game, you'll make a big difference over time. It's amazing. I've got clients who've had some amazing results just by focusing on getting their sleep right. A shift worker in particular, Elaine, who's one of my case studies, she started focus on her sleep and snowballed down the hill, really. It led to her losing 5 stone in weight, becoming a strong woman, like as in a strong, the powerlifting type stuff. She hikes, wild water swims, wild camps, all that kind of stuff. It's kind of changed her life just from one small thing. What it allowed her to do was to become more herself, the herself that she really wanted to be, rather than the person that was in a rut.
Wow. I absolutely love that, Dave. I was hoping that one of those Zeds would be a zebra, but never mind. Um, Obviously, for you, those of you watching, listening, who really can resonate with what Dave's saying, I mean, who doesn't want better sleep? Then check out his links. They will be below. So that seven day audio you talked about, sleep guide,
Yes.
that will be there. My links will be there too. Reach out and ask Dave a question. He's completely brilliant. And for me, I think, if you want to be a healthy, happy human, it's about self-care, and sleep is about self-care. Because let's face it, that's when we start to heal and the body starts to regenerate and do the things it's supposed to do. So, Dave, thank you so, so much. That was absolute gold. And thank you, everyone else, for watching.
Thank you.